Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The cheating drama for the last couple of days has come to a head last night with Parasite getting his revenge on Scump for all the talk of the last couple of days. But with Scump supposedly teaming up with cheaters in ranked play to gain an advantage, pro players have apparently been doing the same thing as well. And that's a big talking point of the past 24 hours. What are your guys' thoughts in the comment section below? Definitely a controversial one this. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Let's dive firstly into this I thought was really cool. So we did this survey that I'm sure a lot of you guys gave your thoughts in because I mentioned it a few days ago. 1,200 plus people voted in this one or gave their thoughts on the state of the CDL. Now, from a fan base perspective, I thought this is very interesting indeed. And we'll look at some of the big numbers here. Just, this is very expected in some ways, but also some of the details are very interesting compared to what I thought might be the case. So, first of all, 41.6% of fans. Now, this sample size is not exactly massive, right, compared to the average viewership of the CDL, but it gets some points across, and I think there's some biases in play here where I think Minnesota, for example, they have a lot of fans that like to attend in person, maybe aren't voting in these type of things, but still, 42%-ish of fans support just one team, but more than that support more than one team, which is pretty interesting compared to, let's say, regular sports, but of course a lot of that is because people support multiple players. Now, half of those that support one team are fans of OpTic, which I guess makes sense. Then we get into this graphic here, which looks like this. So this is the one that most people have been talking about, and the least fans of any team is Los Angeles Guerrillas, basically by the numbers. So what we did is we said, all right, one fan of the Los Angeles Guerrillas, how many fans are there of other teams for every one fan of LAG is basically how it works. So for every one LAG fan, there's around about 18 OpTic fans, and there's about 9 Las Vegas Legion fans. Now, in terms of the percentage of people that chose OpTic as a team they supported, it was in the 60% range. Probably 60-65% of fans support OpTic in some way or another. So that's basically the same as it was. I remember polls used to go around on Reddit a few years ago, 5, 6, 3, 4 years ago. There were polls that did the same thing, and they also said that around about 60% of the scene is OpTic fans, which is still remarkable, but I don't really think anything has changed in that over the last few years, despite franchising coming into play. Then Vegas are technically the second most favorited team. Now, this isn't fully true in terms of the people that are fans of just Vegas is actually significantly lower than it is of Thieves and FaZe, for example, but people who actually support Vegas as kind of like their second team is actually higher percentage-wise than the other teams. Really cool stuff. Then Thieves, then FaZe, Surge, Toronto, then New York, Boston, London. Minnesota surprisingly low for me, but as I say, there could be some potential biases in play. But anyway, that's the fan share as we see it. And also, so if you look at fans of a single team, then you get OpTic, Thieves, FaZe, Subliners, Surge. So you pretty much get the 3 big teams, plus teams with, like popular young stars as it's described here, Hydra, Pred, Civ, etc., and Vegas slightly further down. This I thought was funny as well. So this is the percentage of teams, or the percentage of fans who support multiple teams. So kind of like, maybe they're not fully loyal to their particular team, and it makes sense for these new organizations, and also Vegas have had a bit of a renaissance. But 96% of fans of Vegas also support another team. Largely that'll probably be OpTic, right? So yeah, interesting stuff I thought, but these organizations don't have as many dedicated fans. So I thought it was interesting just to see the state of the community at the moment. And as Clay says, pretty cool to see. Appreciate all the support we've got this year, even though it's just for the underdog story. It means a lot to all of us. And yeah, I'm sure Clay needs to save these numbers and send them on to, send them to FaZe or send them to someone or other, right? Because the fact that Vegas is, outpacing FaZe in terms of pure number of fans on effectively the Clayster effect is pretty cool to see, right? I know that Clay is obviously a fan favorite. He was on OpTic back in the day. Many OpTic fans have a soft spot for Clay and what he's trying to achieve over there at Vegas, so I thought it was pretty cool to see. Let's dive then into the problems with Modern Warfare 2, and there are plenty. There were some discussions yesterday from Call of Duty itself that there's a lot of server-related issues lately that they're trying to find a resolve to, and apparently they have addressed that, but when they address things, does it often work? That's a question, and even Maven says, absolutely brutal, the worst he's seen for months in terms of the servers. So that's one side of the story. The other thing, of course, is Ricochet. They have said that in preparation for the Warzone ranked play beta, which is coming soon, which I'm sure is going to be a disaster, but I guess we'll see on that one. They say they have upgraded the Ricochet servers, or just the effectiveness of the anti-cheat, right? Activated new server-side detection systems, developed new back-end tools for investigation with studios, and look, they're trying to find a way to counter the cheaters, but the issue is that the cheaters, I think the Ricochet code might have got leaked a while ago, and they've therefore all the cheat manufacturers are one step ahead of the game. So it's obviously tricky. Our work continues. We're committed to fighting against unfair play, but it's been destroying everything lately, right? Especially ranked play itself in the game as it stands, and that was the big drama of the last couple of days. Even as Crone says, right, Ricochet stopping hackers, there's, yeah, it doesn't do too much, let's be perfectly honest. So this is where it all comes to a head a couple of days ago now, where we saw Parasite calling out Scumman, right, a kind of Warzone streamer who's now moved into doing ranked play on the regular, and supposedly he was deliberately teaming up with cheaters to gain an advantage in terms of getting SR on the board. Fundamentally, it's SR, right? I mean, who really cares? It's going to reset in a few days anyway. But this was the tweet, actually. It was deleted yesterday, but Erica found a way to recover it and emailed me this over, so I really appreciate that. But this was the tweet that Parasite came out with. We've got creators queuing with 3 stacks of cheaters, wall hackers, and aimbotters now at Scumman, not acceptable under any circumstances. So Parasite having to queue up against this guy, teaming with just 3 cheaters. Now, Scumman admitted in the replies that this was, you know, that he was doing this, right? He was like, oh, you know, give it a break. Other guys are doing it as well. And we'll get onto that in a second. But, you know, so I talked about this being unacceptable, and I still think that it absolutely is. If you're queuing up with cheaters, that's to be just as bad, really, as cheating yourself, because you're knowingly, you know, cheating the other team out of that SR situation. And obviously there's a debate to be had about that. And even as Scumman says, so he did admit this. He said that he was doing it, but, you know, he was deflecting in various ways. More cheaters than not in ranked play, but yeah, man, let's beat up someone who's just trying to stream and not be miserable. So I can kind of understand the motivation in some ways. If you want to play ranked, which is what people still want to play, you can't play at especially a high level because there's so many cheaters. It's just, for us, every other game you play, if not every game, there's going to be cheaters in the lobby on the other team. So to make it playable, you might think, oh, let's just invite some cheaters to my team and have a hack v hack battle, and at least I can win some of them. Which, okay, maybe fair enough. So I can understand the motivation, but fundamentally, right, if there aren't any cheaters on the other team, you're just completely screwing those guys over. And if your way to enjoy ranked play is to basically to cheat, then, you know, just don't bother playing it, to be honest, would be the advice from me. Now, there was some discussion on this, right, because yesterday a tourney came out, the Modern Warfare 2 Ranked Race, $25,000 tourney, and Scumman was welcomed in here with open arms to a team, and there was some debate as to whether he should have been, whether there should have been any backlash from this, effectively boosting his own stats in ranked by teaming up with cheaters deliberately. So anyway, no one seemed to really care, at least from the EFU side. They invited him to this team anyway, and that was the tournament that went down last night. And even as Dave said, he thought it was remarkable, and I can understand why. This EFU's Ranked Race tourney streamed as it was on the main Call of Duty Twitch account yesterday. But challenges, like, you don't see much challenges at all. Maybe you get the Bravo stream, maybe you get a third-party stream. If there's a challenges tourney happening and there's no CDL action, it doesn't go on the main Call of Duty Twitch. It goes on the secondary channels. Whereas this EFU's Ranked 25k tourney, which isn't exactly the height of competition, goes on the main Twitch. So I think there's an interesting debate to be had about that. But anyway, Scumman was dropping numbers, right? He was teaming up with actual non-cheaters, teaming up with legitimate, you know, amateur players, and they made it pretty far, right? They made it all the way to the finals, and very interesting given the fact that it was Parasite who called him out. Those were the 2 teams that went 6-1. So they played like a single round robin thing here, and you know, these were all the teams involved, and the 2 teams that came up 6-1 of that single round robin therefore went on to a grand finals. But before we get to the result, just wanted to share what Scumman had to say to Parasite's initial accusations.
You just can't be doing this, like...
No, absolutely not.
You literally can't be doing this. Like, this is so fucking weird.
Absolutely cannot be doing
bro,
this.
I get cheated on too, bro. You don't see me doing that shit ever.
Yeah, there's no excuse for it. I'm sorry. Doesn't set a good precedent either. It's like you're a top creator and doing with cheaters. What are other people gonna think when they see that? Like they can do it? Like they're gonna think it's cool or something?
I give up, bro.
Yeah, Parasite's not gonna tweet about Tremere, Arcitys, and Ghosty queuing up with hackers, but he'll sure tweet about me, bro. Absolute dick sucker.
So while I've seen no proof of Ghosty and Arcitys talking about this or admitting to it or any proof of it being the case, Parasite, Rated, and Scumman all seem to believe this is also true, because when Parasite did his initial tweet, Rated said in the replies, "Where is your thread about Ghosty and Arcitys?" Scumman mentioned the same thing in that video. Now, like, I'm not defending Scumman, right? But, you know, at the end of the day, a content creator doing this compared to a pro player doing this is actually another level, in my opinion. And as Parasite says, I already roasted them prior. Scum thought thought it was funny, so I blasted him for it. And as he says, they have more viewers and bigger followings. You should be more mad at them. So, you know, I think fundamentally, if your defense is to say, oh, you know, they did it too, then it's not a great defense. But still, it's a valid point. And now Parasite, of course, is boys with Ghosty, so I, you know, imagine he's not really wanting to call him out so publicly on the timeline. But it's certainly worthy of discussion here of pro players apparently doing this as well. Like, it makes a complete mockery of ranked. And okay, you can argue that ranked is already a mockery, but just the idea that pro players are deliberately teaming up with cheaters. Now, and I believe this is them going into lobbies and not just happening to team up with, you know, have a cheater on their team, and actually deliberately find cheaters to go in and play with so that they can compete against the cheaters that are going to be on the other team. As I say, if that's what you're resorting to, just don't even play in the first place, because it just completely devalues any sort of competitive integrity. It actually adds weight to doing this in the first place. If other people see, let's say, you know, tier 2 players or younger guys and see their favorite pro players just deliberately teaming up with cheaters to boost themselves. So, you know, it's just not good at all. Now, as I say, I haven't seen any clips of this or anything to know if this is absolutely 100% accurate, and maybe Ghosty and RCs have their own perspective on, oh, you know, it was just bad luck, I just got teamed up with these guys. But if this was deliberate, then it definitely deserves calling out, to be honest, right? Especially if we're going to do it for Scump and everyone's going to talk about him being a bad actor because of this. If they're doing the same thing, they also deserve equal merit and criticism, and arguably even more so, right? Because they are pro players with this, you know, reputation to uphold. So, I mean, you know, as I say, you can debate whether this is equivalent to cheating or not, but if you're deliberately playing with cheaters to gain a competitive advantage, then I can't really see any other way of looking at it. Now, look, in fairness, I can understand it. Players like Ghosty and others, they go into ranked and they team up against stuff like this all the time. They're getting cheated on all the time, and you can understand the frustration, but it's like, look, maybe just don't play ranked play if this is the issue, rather than going the extra mile and actually, you know, running it back on those teams. Now, as Bryce says, right, I can't tell what's more sad, those that play with hacks in ranked or those that pay to get boosted by hackers in ranked, which apparently is another thing, that people are paying to team up with hackers, which is obviously Ghosty and Arcitys and Scump won't be paid to team up with these guys, I imagine. But still, it gets the point. Now, you know, hacking is still worse fundamentally. To actually download the cheats and utilize them is still one level further on, but, you know, still there's a debate to be held on this. So tweet your thoughts in the comments below. Where this comes to a head, though, which I thought was very entertaining, was that Parasite and Scump, of course, matched up in the finals there of that tournament, and a few days ago, Scump was making the point that there's absolutely no way that these top 250 players could compete with CDL guys, and as Parasite says, thanks Scump for saying this, CDL pros would wipe the floor with high-ranked players that have zero experience in actual competitive games, and Scump instead of the reply is, do you think you're beating me in anything comp-related? And fast forward to today, Parasite and co take him down to the grand finals. They beat him 3-1 or something, and yeah, as Parasite had this one ready to go in the replies, I thought was pretty funny, and even the flank tweeted about it as well. So everything kind of comes full circle in the end from about a week ago to what we saw at the present day. These were the numbers actually, and in fairness, Parasite's team was pretty damn good. Purge, Yeez, Phantoms plus Parasite, so they won that one in the end. Good performance from all involved, but yeah, cheating drama is absolutely everywhere, and it's frustrating because even guys like Thieves, who's the cat guy, right, who I mentioned a few videos ago now, made this formal announcement, I'm officially done. Thieves on ending his ranked play season due to hackers. So look, some players like Thieves and others will just say, you know what, ranked is unplayable, I'm just not going to bother anymore, but apparently some players still want to play it, and to make it playable in their eyes, they're effectively cheating. So very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Definitely a controversial topic. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.